Wanted to get back to a story that we've covered a number of times and got some new developments in it, and that's the crisis on the southern border. You know, I mentioned a few weeks ago when I was in here this concept of people coming across the southern border who weren't immigrants from one of these countries in, the Northern Triangle, they call, who weren't Mexicans, who weren't Guatemalans, not from El Salvador, not from Honduras. These are people from other countries, maybe countries in the Middle East, maybe like Iran, maybe like Yemen, who might have some interest in setting up some kind of terrorist sleeper cell in the U.S. just in case. Well, story out now, and of course this doesn't make the news. They've even pulled it off the Customs and Border Patrol website, the announcement on this story. They pulled it down because it doesn't fit the narrative that the media wants to engineer. But in January and March of this year, 2 military-age men from Yemen, both of whom were on the FBI's terrorism watch list and the no-fly list, were captured just on the other side, coming into the U.S. borders. They were captured on the U.S. side of the U.S. border, a couple of miles from the Calexico point of entry in California. So these guys, and by the way, they look, if you can judge people by their looks, they look like they might blend into the crowd that would be coming in. They don't look, obviously, unrelated to people from that part of the world. But these 2 guys were caught, and I'm sure if we caught these 2 guys, there has to be some we didn't catch, right? There has to be some we didn't catch. So there's your story confirming what I said, because, by the way, this is something that the media and Democrats will try to say is somehow falsified, made up. Who knows what words they will try to apply to this kind of thinking, but it's also what you call true. It's true. We've caught terrorists coming in from Middle Eastern countries across our southern border. Okay, and I'm sure we haven't caught them all, just like we haven't caught all.
Who's in charge of the border now?
Yeah, who is in charge? That's a great question. Who knows?
Kamala is.
Well, right, exactly, and she'll be visiting it just as soon as she gets around to it. As soon as she gets around to it. She's very busy. You leave her alone, Pat George. Well, I tell you, this crisis boiling over, and the way they're spending money in our country, too, is going to irritate a lot of people. I mean, it certainly irritates yours truly. Got a couple of stories here. I mean, one out of New York State that will blow your mind. They're talking about making New York State. They've budgeted this. They've passed the budget.
Don't say it. Don't say it. I'm going to blow up.
You know what I'm talking about,
yes.
Pat George. They set aside a fund of $2.1 billion, and from this fund, they're willing to pay any illegal immigrants, people who are not, non-legal, non-citizens. They're willing to pay them $15,600 each.
He said it.
In a one-time payment. If they can prove that they're New York State residents, non-legal residents, mind you, who are ineligible for unemployment benefits due to their immigration status. Oh, because they're non-legal, non-citizens, and the state of New York is going to give them $15,600 each? I mean, are you kidding me? This is how we want to spend our money? It's just unbelievable. Of that $2.1 billion fund, $1.5 billion of it is going to New York City, if that gives you any idea of where most of these people are located that they're going to be paying this money to. And we had another story, which we may have to hold over to the other side of the break, but this one's about Joe Biden and the Biden-Harris administration talking about making payments to people who haven't even made it to this country yet. They aren't even here yet, and we're going to pay them money. We'll tell you some more about that on the other side of the break. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.